Hello everyone, my name is Natalie. Today I wanted to do my Nonfiction November TBR. So earlier in October I did a Nonfiction November recommendations video where I recommended books specifically for this year's prompts. I will link the recommendation video that I mentioned in the description below in case you are interested in or are looking for inspiration or general nonfiction recommendations. I will also link Olive's announcement for Nonfiction November this year, so you can find all of the relevant information there. So today I'm finally going to show you my TBR. It took me quite a long time to finalize these books, just because basically all of the books that I have as options for nonfiction on my shelves sounded like I would very happily read them in November. So just trying to figure out a pile that were more priorities over the others was the thing that took time. So this is really a pile of possibilities. I will definitely not be reading all of these books. So I have sort of selected a few different topics or types of nonfiction. So the first one is art related. This is The Art and Flair of Mary Blair, an appreciation by Canemaker. This is one of my Disney art books. I have quite a few and I haven't read any of them cover to cover. This one I haven't even touched. I think I got it at the end of last year and I just haven't gotten around to it. So obviously this is about Mary Blair, who was one of the probably the most famous of the female animators. And she's well known for her work in Alice in Wonderland. So as I mentioned, this is an art book, so it includes tons of photographs and illustrations like this. I don't think this is a very long book. Unfortunately, I don't think there is any biographies of Mary Blair. I wish there was. But this is the closest really you can find about any specific book on her. And so that is the reason I got it. I think I might have gotten it in connection with reading The Queens of Animation last year. Of course, this could very easily work both for industry in terms of animation industry as well as style, because of course she was an artist. Next up we have two memoirs that I've been really eager to get to. So we have Out of Place by Edward Said. I had planned to read this in September for Invisible Cities, where we had, one of the countries we had was Palestine, and Edward Said was from Palestine. So this is a memoir about his life, and I'm really interested in him because I have really found his scholarship fascinating. Since I didn't get around to it for Invisible Cities in September, I really wanted to get a chance to read it before the end of the year, so this is high on my priority. And then another memoir that I've been really meaning to get to since it arrived in the mail is Crying in Mart by Zauner. I know that this author is also a singer. Japanese Breakfast, I think, is the name of the artist. So this is a memoir about losing her mother, and it's also about the love of food and cooking, and I think cooking specifically as a way to celebrate and to mourn her mother. The next one I bought specifically earlier this year, I think, because of Mel from Mel's Bookland Adventures. We have Afropean, Notes from Black Europe by Johny Pitts. This won the Jacal Prize, Jalak Prize last year, I think, and the title is pretty self-explanatory. I think it looks far beyond the UK, which is really what drew me to this book. I know that there's at least one section on Sweden as well. I just feel like it will be an interesting and important perspective on any race-related writing. I'm thinking of this as collection in the sense of it's talking about several different countries and contexts. So it's a collection of stories, I'm suspecting. It could be treatment, of course, because it's treatment towards a group of people based on race. Next we have a book that I know I've had on previous TBRs, and It's been one of those books that I've saved for a magical time when I have the time to dedicate to it, and that magical time of course never happens. So I thought that I could at least start it in Nonfiction November and maybe have it as a long-term project for the rest of the year. So we have Arctic Dreams by Barry Lopez. This is a very popular nature writing book. Of course it's about the Arctic, and there's several reasons I'm interested in this one. First of all, I was highly recommended this book by Jasmine. I will link her Instagram below. And I know also one of the things that that has been mentioned in regard to this book is that Barry Lopez takes note of indigenous knowledge and culture in connection with talking about nature, which is sadly one thing that is very often lacking in nature writing books. Next we have two music books. So I've been really in the mood for music nonfiction a few weeks, and I've just been saving it for Nonfiction November. So I haven't decided on which of these books I'll read, or if I read both of them, we'll see. The first one I have as option is Listen to This by Alex Ross. This one, as far as I can tell, is a sort of a wide encompassing take on music history and talking about various genres. Ross shows how music can express the full complexity of human experience. He explains how pop music can achieve the status of high art and how classical music can become a vital part of wider contemporary culture. So clearly, as I said, a very wide encompassing book on music history and different genres. I've been really strongly recommended this book by Roxy from Chaotic Bibliophile. Again, I will link her in the description below. So that already bodes really well. We have a lot of overlap in our tastes when it comes to nonfiction. Next up we have For the Love of Music, A Conductor's Guide to the Art of Listening by John Mauceri. This one is more the lean towards classical music. So this author is a conductor. I've also read his previous book, Maestros and Their Music, which I really enjoyed. This one is, as I said, about classical music and how to enjoy it. I feel like this would be a perfect book to read and to listen to the music that is referenced in it as a sort of weekend activity. So that is what I'm imagining with this book, to sort of have a combined experience of listening to music and reading the book. Then I have 3 biographies. So again, I couldn't really choose between these ones, although the first one I'll show you is one I know I will want to get to in November. So we have A Rather Haunted Life by Ruth Franklin. This is a Shirley Jackson biography. I've been saving this one until I finished Shirley Jackson's body of work. I have read all but one of her novels and have read the most famous short story collection. I'm actually rereading that at the moment. So if I feel like I'm ready for this one and to learn more about her. I'm also planning to read some other Shirley Jackson things soon, so that is the reason I want to prioritize reading this in Nonfiction November. Shirley Jackson is one of my favorite authors, so I suspect this will be a lot of fun, and I also feel like this is appropriate for the sort of post-Halloween, still kind of spooky part of the year. Next up we have Hide and Seek with Angels, A Life of G. and Barry by Lisa Chaney. I read the Peter Pan, the two Peter Pan books, the autumn before the last one, I think. And for that reason, I think I associate Peter Pan with the autumn, so I feel like I was in the mood for this kind of book. I have a biography of Jean Barry, of Lewis Carroll, and of A. Milne, and I'm kind of in the mood for all 3 of them, but I just thought that this would be as good as any of these to read. So we'll see if I get to any more. I'll probably start with the Shirley Jackson biography, and if I feel like I'm in the mood for more biographies of authors, then I have one of the 3 to choose from. But I feel really drawn to this because I know parts of Peter Pan was sort of autobiographical. I think particularly his relationship with his siblings. So that is the reason I actually got this book. Then the last biography I have is a Swedish one. It is Farbrorn som inte vill, stor by Klas Gustafson, and this is a biography of Gösta Ekman, who was a very famous Swedish actor. So he has done several things. One of the things that he's very well known for is the Jönssonligan movies that were, I think, produced from the 70s towards the 80s and 90s, particularly the 80s, I think. The reason I really wanted to get to this is because I read one of this author's other biographies in October. I just finished it and really enjoyed that. So I also really enjoyed reading about Swedish cultural history. So this one, again, like with the music books, I thought that this would be a perfect way to combine both the reading of the book and watching the movies, like a combined activity thing. The last of the books that I have selected here is The Butchering Art, Joseph Lister's quest to transform the grisly world of Victorian medicine by Lindsey Fitzharris. This has been on my TBR several years, I feel like, and it is definitely up my wheelhouse. I think it will probably be kind of unnerving to read, but I am really interested in this kind of stuff, what people have done to human bodies with the best of intentions sometimes, or often, with not great results. So I know that this has been, I know several people who have really enjoyed this book. So again, I feel like I feel pretty confident with enjoying this one. So those are my possible Nonfiction November TBR books. If you've read any of these books, I would love to hear what you thought of them. What are you planning to read for Nonfiction November? I would love to hear about that as well. Please feel free to share in the comments. I hope you're doing well and you're taking care of yourselves, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.